Hello and welcome to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. I'm Rick, and my guest today is Jim Ferguson, the artist behind Jim Ferguson MakingAScene.com. Thanks for joining me, Jim.
It's good to be talking to you finally.
Good to hear from you too. For any listeners who's not familiar with Jim's work, you basically take scenes from classic games and from classic movies, and you recreate them in, is it pencil, crayon, or colored pen? What is your
It's
medium?
uh, it's all ink pen and illustration markers. It's a marker brand called Copic marker. They're actually stupid expensive, and but it's basically the top of the line marker you can get.
Yeah. Hey, wow, that's really impressive because it like you basically recreate the scene perfectly, and it's really cool because obviously because it is hand drawn, it gives it that hand drawn look, so it actually looks like really cool art, but it and not a screenshot from the games and movies. Um,
Right.
mhm.
Like especially with the computer games, I imagine some of those were actually hand drawn at one time, but they're nearly impossible to find. Either they've all been tossed out, or they're in really collections that you can't really go and see. But I wanted some that were actually hand drawn, so the only way I
Mhm.
could do it was make it myself. So
Oh, that's awesome. So how long have you been drawing?
I've been drawing since I was like a little kid, but
Oh, right. Sorry,
back in
sorry. I should clarify. How long have you been yeah? How long have you been drawing professionally?
Okay, so I mean, I did go to school for art and then a little bit of college, and then my career got in the way of college, so I quit college, started doing other things, and then didn't draw for about, I don't know, probably about 10 years, and then decided to hop back on it. But probably started drawing again in late 2011, and then started actually selling art in 2012, and then quit my job to be a full-time artist in 2014. It feeds my wife and three kids, so
Oh,
and
nice.
put the roof over her head, so
Oh, that's great.
can't complain.
No, very few artists can really do it full time. So do you get most of your business from your website or from conventions?
I would say it's almost 50-50. It's probably like 60-40. I probably get 60% of my income from conventions. Probably the other 40 is like either online or commissions or wholesale sales where I'm
Yeah.
selling to like a shop or something. But yeah, well, it's probably about 50-50, something
Okay.
like
And
that.
do you do commissioned work like outside of what we see on
Yeah,
your site?
but not a lot because I do about 20 to 25 conventions a year, so that puts me on the road almost every other uh,
Yeah,
you know
that's like every other week. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, every other week.
Wow.
I almost have like a teacher schedule. I take a lot of the summer off and a lot of the like winter off. So I don't do anything in November and December. That's usually when I'll try to get a lot more art done or take some commissions while I'm at home.
Hmm. So did you start with the with movies or the video games?
Yeah, actually, I started with movies first, and it wasn't ever the plan to actually draw movies. It was just actually the original plan was I wanted to make a video game, so I was trying to do concept work for it, but I was really awful because I hadn't drawn in so long. So I sat down with like my old art supplies from college that were probably all dried out and not usable anyway, and sat down one night and was drawing. And I think Die Hard was on TV, and it's like, well, you draw what you know and draw what's around you. And I do like movies, so I was like, well, I'm just going to draw old Bruce Willis in that air duct. And I drew him, and then um, somebody on Facebook commented that they're like, oh, that's cool, I'd buy that. And I was like, okay, it's for sale then. And they're like, no, I mean, I'd buy something like that. And I was like, oh, thanks for getting my hopes up. He was like,
Ah.
hey, draw me some Fight Club. And I was like, all right, drew him some Fight Club, and I met him in a parking lot somewhere, and I was like, here you go. And we never even discussed how much it was, and I was like $50, and he was like, "No, let me give you $100." And
Yeah.
so, I got back in the car with my wife, and I was like, "I got $100," and she just kind of like, "Do that again, then." So, and I did. I did another drawing for somebody I worked with, and then that first guy came back, and he was like, "Hey, I need something from the Goonies," and I drew something from the Goonies, and I got another guy at work bought another one from me, and so within a month, I had enough to pay a car note, and I was like, well, let's keep doing this. And then I'm like, what can I do from here? So then I just started drawing other movies that I liked and not what people were asking me for.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, I can't just keep drawing originals. I can make prints of these because not everybody's going to spend $100 to get an original.
That's right.
Uh, but other people can spend $10, $15. So I started making some prints, and then and that was in 2012, and I did my first convention in that fall of 2012, and I did pretty good considering how many prints I had, and I was like, well, where's the next one? And I found another one, and then I found another one, and and 1 year of doing conventions throughout the year and trying to juggle that with my job, then I was like, well, I gotta quit. I think it was like January 1st of 2014. I went to the boss. I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm not gonna work there
Nice. That's a good feeling,
again.
eh?
Which kind of sucked though because it was a super cool job, but
Oh, what was it?
you had to. I was actually a video engineer at NASA. Worked at NASA for 9 years.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's a pretty cool job to be leaving. So that's yeah.
Yeah, like I used to fly like zero G flights. I did support for the International Space Station and the shuttle missions, and I talked to astronauts while they were on the space station, like on the phone.
Wow.
Those are some of the flew with astronauts on the airplane, in the zero G plane. So like I got to fly with astronauts, I got to meet astronauts, I got to work with astronauts, and it was pretty cool. But after a while, I was just doing a job.
Wow.
It's time to go do something that I wanted to do.
I looked through the website and you have like pages and pages and pages of different art for sale. And one thing that really stood out to me is that I think you and I have very similar tastes in movies. Because
Well, that's you like some really good and some really bad movies, then.
yes, yes, absolutely. I'm not sure if I saw very many movies that you drew from that I don't like the movie, but even then, it's sort of like, well, that's a really cool picture. You had some really cool things from Little Shop of Horrors,
Right, right.
the really cool Jabba scene from Return of the Jedi, uh, Dune. Yeah, so you're obviously a big film buff. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie of all time is Conan the Barbarian.
Ooh, good pick.
Like a lot of people are like, "What? Your favorite movie is a cheesy barbarian movie?" I'm like, if you think it's a cheesy barbarian movie, you haven't actually watched the movie.
Yeah,
But I
that's
mean,
correct. I
like
fully agree with
Oliver
that statement.
Stone, I think it was Oliver Stone that wrote like the screenplay for it. And if you actually read the books, like he pulled a lot of info from the books and was very true to the character and did all this other stuff. And then, believe it or not, Arnold was actually a good actor in that.
Hmm.
Yeah, some of the special effects don't hold up, but
That's what they had back then.
yeah. Then right behind that is Jaws.
And of course, you've done a lot of video game scenes as well. So what's your favorite video game of all time then, if you have one?
Ooh, gosh, favorite video game.
Or even not
Uh,
even if not necessarily of all time, or at least like your favorite video game at the moment.
okay. Favorite video game of all time is Star Wars Galaxy.
Really nice.
Yes,
That's one I
that
have
would
not actually
that would
played.
have to be it. Well, there are God, what are they called? Because it was an MMO, and then it had a really cool like level structure where it wasn't just like, oh, you're level one, now you're level two, level three. Like you could like cross class, you could have like a little bit of skill points over here and being like like in pistols, and then you could have a little bit of animal handling, and you could just build that. It was almost like how Skyrim is. It was whatever you worked on, that's what you got better at, and then
Right.
you could put your skills in it to level up. And then World of Warcraft came out shortly after and was still in all. And every MMO player on every game was all going to that. So Star Wars thought that Star Wars Galaxies thought that if they made it more streamlined, like World of Warcraft, where it was just like, all right, now you're this, and you're just that, and now you're this, and just that. But everybody pretty much jumped ship right after that happened. But there's a few. and like I said, I can't remember what they're called, but people have basically rebuilt the game on the computer so you can go and still play it the way that it used to be. And I've hopped on there a few times. And, it was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
But
Is
it's
it?
not like it used to be because all my
Oh,
friends aren't there anymore. So.
right, right. But the game itself, does it do it justice to the original?
Oh yeah, I mean it's just like it's almost like playing the exact same game.
Oh,
I mean
okay.
it really is using all everything is exactly where it was. It's like you actually have to have the disc
Oh,
to
okay.
play
So
it.
they, okay. So they
But
basically
they
just
have their own
restored.
server set up and like built a new server so you can all go play.
Oh, man.
And I wish they could have done that with City of Heroes also, but City of Heroes was all everything you needed was on their server. So once they pulled the plug on that, that game was dead forever.
Oh no, yeah, that's one that I really wish I had played when it was out, but I just never really got into MMOs in general. But some of them always looked really amazing. I remember hearing a lot of good things about Star Wars Galaxies when it first came out. I remember hearing the complaints when it changed. I didn't know specifics, but
Oh, yeah.
I
It was
do.
bad when
Yeah.
they changed.
What do you have like a favorite piece that you in terms of what you enjoyed most drawing or recreating?
Oh well, most of the ones that I really proud of and I like, I hated drawing them because they were
Oh,
stupid hard.
right.
But like one that's sticking out, two of them that are sticking out recently because they I've done them this year. I think I did them this year, and I'm just kind of proud of how they turned out. Was I did one from Superman 3. Not
Nice.
that anybody ever wants to buy that one, but it's like, hey, do you have a print from Superman 3? It's like, why, yes, I do. And then let's see, I just did one from Lost Boys, and
Oh, nice.
that one was really hard also. But yeah, the new Sierra game ones I've been doing, I really like those, and I like doing them. The only problem with those is that if I don't sell them online, like I'm not selling them at all because like I go to a comic book convention with a bunch of people that are in their 20s and 30s, and like most of them have no idea what Sierra
Right.
was as a company or. I was like, no, you had to take these discs and you had to put them in the computer, and then when you went to another screen, you had to eject them and put another one in.
Yeah.
At least that's how it was for me when I was playing them because I had a Tandy 1000 and it didn't have a hard drive. So each disc I had to load
That's
every
right.
time.
I
That
did
took
have
a lot
a
of
I did have an IBM PC compatible, but it did not have a hard drive, so I feel your pain on that
so
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
you were doing the same thing then.
yeah, I played Heroes Quest, which was 10 discs. I believe Colonel's Bequest was 10 discs. And although I don't specifically remember the experience of it, so maybe my brain blocked it out, I did play Ultima 6 without a hard drive.
Yeah, I don't like. I never. I didn't get to play too many computer games, but the ones I did play, like I really enjoyed. We didn't. Besides having the Tandy, uh, like my parents didn't. They were like, my mom was a teacher, so she was like, "Oh, I'll bring home this Mac, and if you want to do anything on the computer, you can use this Mac." And I'm like, nothing's compatible with this. I can't even borrow games from my friends. So,
Yeah,
I would go over to a friend's house and we'd play, some of the games on there. And so my computer was actually my friend's computer until I was probably freshman or sophomore in high school, and I saved up money and built my own computer. So that was my first one. And then my family was like, "Oh, we have a computer." I'm like, "No, I have a computer." So it's in my room. I had to get a second. Ended up having to get a second phone line for my own room so I could use the internet,
that's right. Yeah,
which was
another thing.
AOL.
Yeah, another thing a lot of people may not ever have to experience for themselves is actually having to either tie up the phone line, the family phone line, in order to use the
Right,
internet, or like you and I did, we had to actually buy a new phone line in order to use
right,
that. Yeah.
right. Or wait until everybody went to sleep and then get on and do everything.
Hmm.
'Cause,
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm
What's
sure.
your favorite game?
um, I have It is very well documented that my favorite game is the Quest for Glory series, counted as one.
Awesome,
I've
awesome.
actually had quite a few people quote that back to me. Like it's like the obvious answer. Like
Well,
they know that it's the predictable what I
one of
always
my
say.
favorite things in my room is I did that drawing of Quest for Glory with a hint of Heroes Quest in it. It's
Mm-hmm.
the opening of Spielberg, but I put the the Heroes Quest magic shop in there because I always like that one better than the
Right.
Quest for Glory one.
You know,
And
I've actually
uh,
looked at that and I never noticed that until you just mentioned it now.
oh really?
Yeah. It
Well, I
just
played both of them like so much that
yeah,
they
that's
they all
me.
blend together.
Me too. I
Uh,
think it just didn't really occur to me because I'm so familiar with both of them. It didn't really seem out of place.
but yeah,
Uh,
I kept the original, and I sent a mat to the Coles, and the Coles both signed it, the mat for me. So I don't have any of my own work, like original work, like in my office or in my house, like framed anywhere,
mm-hmm.
except for that piece,
Nice.
because
Yeah.
that's one of my most favorite games of all time, besides uh, Star Wars Galaxy.
Right.
Is probably after that is probably the whole Quest for Glory, Heroes Quest. Uh, and I don't know if you saw my post that I made like a few weeks ago, but on one of my trips I went on, I know you were trying to end this. I'm going to keep
Mm-hmm.
it going. Um, on one of the trips I was going on, I was trying to explain to my buddy that was riding with me, about Quest for Glory. And I was like, look, it's this cool place. And I'm like, you walk into the town. He's like, I go left. And I'm like, okay, we're going that route. All right, so to your left, I was like, you see the the Hero Tail Inn, and then next door to that is the magic shop. He's like, oh, I go in the magic shop. And I was like, oh, you see this and this and this. He's like, well, what can I buy? I'm like, you don't have that much money. And over here is the guild hall. He's like, I go in the guild hall. I'm like, you see a quest board. He's like, oh God, I'm reading the quest. And we ended up actually playing
Through the
the
game.
whole game because I can remember the map, and I'm like, but I kept catching myself go, all right, in this screen you see this, and he's like, screen. I was like, never mind, you keep going down this trail, and then but I even made I told him I was like, at any point in the time you can save, but once you save there, if you need to save someplace else, you've got to say you save it again. So once he got into the brigands barracks and stuff. Like he died so many times. He got squished by an antwerp. Uh,
Of
and
course.
like everything. I was like, you didn't look for the traps. You got to look for traps, dude. So, but he enjoyed it, and he was like, dude, we need. He's like, we have a big long trip to Orlando. It's like a 12-hour drive there and a 12-hour drive back. So between now and then, I really need to brush up on my trial by fire, so I can that was going to be a hard one to run them through because it's mainly open desert and
Yeah.
twisty maps. Uh, so I'm gonna have to make it easy. But
That,
anyway, that was fun
yeah.
doing that.
That's awesome. That's actually a really cool way to pass the time.
Yeah, and then like a week later, I was like, dude, come over to the house real quick. I got to show you something. I was like, I pulled up the game. He was like, this is exactly what you said. Everything is exactly like I would think it would be in my head. Yeah,
Nevertheless,
my first game though that I had on a computer was King's Quest 4, and that's what got me hooked on to everything.
good start.
And then yeah, playing Heroes Quest at my friend's house, and then we took our money together and bought Quest for Glory 2 and ordered it in the mail and had to wait like what seemed like years for that game to come in
Yeah.
because we were kids, and it's like a week seemed like months, and we really wanted to play that game, and
did
here we
it
go.
did it only take a week to get out?
Oh, I don't even remember. I think
Yeah.
it might have actually been like 3 weeks or something. It was, mail order back in the day. You couldn't just go, I'm ordering this. You actually had to send something in the
Y-
mail,
That's right. That's what.
ordered it, and then get it back. So it was probably like 3 weeks.
Yeah. That's what I remember.
We waited
It
forever.
was very standard. Everyone would say, please allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery," because, like you said, it had to go. You had to fill out the form. You had to send it.
Hmm.
They had to receive it. They had to make sure the payment cleared, and then they had to send it back.
Right.
So,
It was probably 4 to 6 weeks. I
mhm.
I just remember it took forever, and we waited and we waited and we waited, and then I think he beat that game without me.
Oh no.
Yeah, because like I think it wouldn't quite run on my computer, so because he was like, "Dude, we'll just make copies, and I'll play it at my house. You can play it at your house, and whatever." And then he beat it, and I couldn't even run it on my computer. So,
Oh. Any cool road stories since you're on the road so much every year?
oh, my friend would love me to tell you this story because it's
Okay.
told a ton of people. So we were uh, driving from Louisiana to uh, Portland, Oregon,
Right.
which is a 40 something hour
Uh,
drive.
I was going to say that's like across the country, isn't it?
Well,
Pretty close.
from the south to the northwest.
Pardon my ignorance of U.S. geography because I am Canadian, so I am not really familiar with the placement of the states.
Well, yeah. So anyway, we'll just say it was a very long drive. Probably like at least a 40 something hour drive. So we drove, and we don't. I mean, we'll take turns sleeping, but we never stop and sleep anywhere, and we just keep going.
Right.
And we left from the southern coast of uh, of of the United States, which was the weather was probably, I don't know, in the upper 90s. So we left wearing shorts and flip flops, and somewhere up in the Rocky Mountains, it was snowing, and my
Oh no.
friend got out and decided to go to the bathroom, I guess. And well, he lost his flip flops in the snow, and then we had to try to dig it all out because they were buried in the snow, but we're not snow prepared, and we hardly ever see snow at
Oh
all
no.
anyway. So,
Yeah.
but, it's like throwing an animal that doesn't understand what's going on, and we're freezing, trying to get our flip flops out or his flip flop out, and then after he gets it out, everywhere we stopped after that because he likes to talk to everybody, and so we'd stop at a fast food place and order, and through the thing he was like, "Hey, let me tell you what happened. I lost my flip." He kept telling everybody on the trip how he lost his flip flop and how he lost it in the snow, and why we were wearing flip flops, and then but then like so once we get into Oregon, way up in the west, and there's a snowstorm going on because this is like February or something like that.
Right.
It wasn't February. So we were in a like 90-degree weather, and now we're like in snowstorm, and we're really close to the hotel that they use for the outside shots of The Shining.
Oh no.
So it's only about an hour and a half detour, and we've already been driving for 40 something hours. So we're like, what's an hour and a half? So we go through this crazy like mountain pass with like avalanches and stuff, and we get there, and it's the Timberline Lodge, like at the base of Mount Hood, right outside of Portland, and we're still wearing flip flops and shorts, and I'm wearing sunglasses. It looks like we just left the beach, but it's a ski lodge. So we
Yeah.
all hop out of the car, walk out to the front of it, and we're taking pictures of ourselves with the hotel, and everybody around us looks at us like we are just as stupid as we look. It's like, what are y'all doing? It's like y'all look like y'all came from the beach.
um, any favorite memories from the conventions?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a few of them. Like I've met a few actors, and like they ended up being some of them ended up actually becoming like friends.
Oh, sweet.
So I met Sean Astin probably in 2013, I think. Yes, I met him in 2013, and I was getting some of my artwork signed from the Goonies, and he was like, "Oh, I like that." He's like, "I need your help." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I am running a Kickstarter." And I'm like, "Okay, tell me about this Kickstarter." And he's like, "It's a Kickstarter for a radio program he's doing, but he needed some artwork to send out as rewards for people who backed it." And I was like, "Whatever you need, let me know. I'll get it for you."
Hmm.
And so Kickstarter's over, and he's like, "All right, well, I need like 1,000 prints from you." And I'm like, "Well, okay, uh, I'll get that to you." So, I got all these prints, I signed them all, sent them to them, and then everybody that backed his Kickstarter got one. And
Wow.
then, so I ended up seeing them probably about three months later at a different convention, and he was like, "Hey, thanks for helping me out with that. If you need anything, let me know." And I was like, "Well, I'm doing a Kickstarter, and I was doing a Kickstarter for one of my art books." And he was like, "Well, what do you need?" And I was like, I don't know." He's like, "Let me write a foreword for your book." And I was like, "That would be awesome."
Oh,
So he
amazing.
wrote me a so he wrote me a foreword for my book, and then he was like, "You need me to sign some prints? I mean, I did 1,000 prints for you. What do you need?" And I was like, "I don't know." So I think he signed like I think it was either 50 or 100 prints for me. I was able to.
Yeah, I hope to have you on again soon.
Hey, you give me $150, you get a signed, framed Sean Astin print, and you also get um, one of my books. And so, that really helped. I was able to get funded pretty quick uh,
Nice.
with his help on that. And then after that, I was like, well, crap, I need, for the next year's book, I needed somebody else. And so I got uh, the very first autograph I ever got, I didn't even get to meet him, but somebody got one of my uh, drawing signed at a convention, and it kind of gave me the bug of like, oh, I want to get some more of these signed by actors. But somebody took one of my Big Trouble in Little China pictures and got James Hong to sign it, and somehow he got in contact with me because he I got an email going, I got this picture that you drew and I like it, and I would like to see more. So I drew some more pictures of him, and he signed some prints for me, and sent my kids some Kung Fu Panda signed stuff. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. And sent me like a Big Trouble in Little China comic book on my birthday, like a few years ago. So it was cool things like that. And he did my third book, my the forward for that, and then Chewbacca and his wife did the forward for my last book that I did.
Wow. That
And
that's really impressive.
I've been to their house a few times. His dog sat in my lap. You know, I'm friends with I'm friends with his his daughter and her fiance. Like actually, I wasn't even planning on going to their house that night. I was just at another convention, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, hey, how are y'all doing?" They're like, "Hey, what are y'all doing? Let's go eat." And then I need to run by the house. And by the way, hi, Chewbacca. And he was half asleep and just wanted to watch the news. So I didn't talk to him much. But so one time, I was at a convention, and I'm sitting there like I see somebody out of the corner of my eye flipping through my prints and looking them over, and it's towards the end of the day, and I've been tired, and I'm playing. I'm doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm sitting there. I'm playing on my phone, and I think to myself, I'm like, I'll just let them look for a second. If they're interested, they'll either say hey or. Uh, but I'll just give them a minute. I'm not a pushy salesperson anyway, so I'm just
Right.
like, all right, just I'll give them a minute. So I turn and I look, and he looks up. I look at him. He nods his head and then scampers away. And it was Alan Tudyk. I'm just man, like I needed you to sign something, and like he ran off. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen so many. Like one time I was eating dinner, and I looked up and looked over to the left of me, and I was like, oh, that's Chewbacca. Cool. And then I looked behind me, and it was Adam West. And then next to Adam West
Oh.
was Burt Ward. I'm like, oh god. And I was just sitting out at this um hotel outside patio area, and then later on I got a few drinks in me, and I was like found myself. I was talking to uh Dirk Benedict. He was like in Starbuck and in the A Team,
Oh, okay.
Battlestar Galactica, and all that.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, well, that's cool. And then later, I tried to buy Darth Maul a free drink. I didn't know it was open bar and it was free, and he was trying to pay for it. I was like, no, I got this. And he was like, all right. And then later on, he threw one of the agents in the pool, which ends up, well, but it was all out of fun. Darth Maul just throwing the sky. And I was just like, this is
which,
weird.
which is exactly what I imagine Darth Maul would do if I saw him at a party.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy. I've hung out with him a few times, and yeah, it's fun. He's always fun.
Yeah. Are there any are there any disappointing encounters with celebrities or like real jerk celebrities or anything like that?
Yes, there is, and it's a heartbreaker.
Oh no. Do I want to know
Like the
this?
uh, yeah, I want the whole world to know.
All right.
Yeah, it was actually one my first convention I went to, and I had a Star Trek Next Generation print that I
Mhm.
had made, and I was like, I love that show, and it's like, but I only had like maybe 50, $60, and I was like, well, I can only get one of these signed. I'm gonna pick my favorite character on that show, so I went and got Jordy to sign it because he was my favorite.
Yeah.
So I went to go meet LeVar Burton, Reading Rainbow himself,
Yeah.
and like, so I have my print. It's in this plastic sleeve with a cardboard thing in it, and
Mhm.
so I gave him my $40, and I just walked over and I drew this picture, and I can only afford to get one of you guys to sign it. So I picked my favorite, and as I'm trying to pull it out because it's stuck, he's like, man, you're gonna have to be faster than that. He's like, hurry up, and I'm just like, so I was like, I took it out and I was like, just sign it. And I just threw it in front of him. And
Yeah.
he was just, but he was just like, hurry up.
Oh
And I was
no.
like, wait a minute, I paid $40 and you're gonna rush me through the line, and I'm trying to tell you that you're like
Yeah.
one of my favorite characters on Star Trek. And like after that, I just walked away. I was like, screw that guy.
Yeah. Oh,
But
I thought he'd be one of the nice guys.
know who I'd figured would be a jerk? Jonathan Frakes, old Riker. I figured he would have been the biggest jerk out of all of them. Well, guess what? Right after I met Jordy, and he made me not happy,
Mm-hmm.
I went over to because I had extra prints with me. I was getting the one I was getting signed, and I was giving them a print if they wanted one. I went over to their table, and I was like, well, I was like, I just spent my last money with him, but I wanted you to have one of these prints. And he was like, I really love this. He was like, did you show Gates McFadden yet? And I was like, no. And he's like, here, let me sign yours. And he signed it, and he was like, come meet Gates McFadden. Have you met what's her face? Have you met this guy? Have you? And he brought me to each one of them, and I got every single autograph.
Oh,
Like,
awesome.
like, and I was like, all right. So
The happy
Jonathan
ending to the
Frakes is the
story.
coolest out of all of them.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. It's great because it starts on such a bummer and then just ends so amazingly.
Yeah, it's like, but besides that, I don't think I've ever met anybody else that was ever, everybody, they meet like thousands and thousands of people a day.
Of
So,
course.
you can only put on, I mean, they're not excited to see everybody.
No, of course.
But because I deal with the same thing, I see thousands of people, and you just have to be like, okay, yeah, and but you can't be rude to people and tell them to hurry up unless if they're being jerks. I don't think I was being
Yeah.
a jerk. You know, maybe he's just having an off day. You never know. But because I've
Especially
heard that with other people. But
yeah, especially when you essentially tell them that they're your favorite on the show.
yeah, he was like, "You need to hurt." I was like, "I'm sorry, but it was stuck in there, and I was trying to get it out."
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, on that note, I think that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for the
Oh,
stories.
no
Those are some
problem.
pretty amazing tales there.
Uh, if you ever want to do another one, I'm sure I can
Uh,
think of some other ones.
that sounds amazing. I would love to have you back. Thank you very much for joining, and I hope to have you on again soon.